new national poll dropped. Trump's 42 to Biden's 38. Huh. So that sounds like good news, right? That's pretty good. It's a pretty serious margin there. This is from 5:30. Biden DeSantis 36 to 34. GOP presidential primary, Trump's up majorly, 54% to 18%. Ramaswamy.
Morning, Claiborne.
Third.
Morning, Jonna. Where's the cat?
Head-to-head, Trump versus
Cat's
DeSantis, 65 to 26%. Now, that sounds like good news, right? So you can imagine.
Fucking followed me around all morning. The big guy
did.
did.
Some of those same numbers on the Democratic side. They're going, uh-oh. Might have a problem, which is maybe why they're actually shoving him out there in front of people and saying they're going to relabel everything.
Bye-bye.
They're very much label people, so we'll see if that works for them.
Thanks for popping in, Anna.
That's good numbers. Now, the other thing that is kind of the bad news side of this is Predicted. And Predicted has Joe Biden up by 16 points. So Predicted are just public prediction markets where people will wager with their dollars and cents. And you can see, for some reason, they're saying that Joe Biden is still far and away ahead and is actually increasing his margin. And I was thinking about this, think about all the things that they did in 2020 with the 51 CIA agents and all the censorship with the FBI. They changed the election rules. We had ballot collections. We had deadline extensions. Remember that the P.O. box was like, the post office was like post-dating things. And as long as it was in their facility by a certain time, it was all acceptable. And sometimes you could just register to vote without even having to sign to match your signatures because of COVID and all of these weird things. Like they flipped everything on its head in order to get it done. And the FBI was in on it. The DOJ was in on it. They were censoring us on social media. Like the list goes on and on and on, and that's just scratching the surface. So what are they going to do this time? What is it going to look like when Trump is under 4 or
Fuck. Another busy day. It's been a busy week so far. And the funeral and stuff yesterday. I don't know what's going on with the stream. Maybe him. I'm not watching the show. How it thinks I'm watching the stream somewhere else when they know I'm not. Was Farlap serious about getting rid of that server? Did he do it? I hope not. The server's hilarious. It's one of the few servers I don't have muted.
Now, there was a story over here on Zero Hedge about Newsom. And apparently, remember, a couple of weeks ago, I think we talked about that bizarre lab that was busted in California, that bio lab. We saw some pictures of the interior, but it looks like they were funded by California. The secret facility, which contained a massive stockpile of infectious agents, including the COVID, and nearly 1,000 dead lab mice and vials of unidentified biological fluids.
Yuck.
Also likely came as no surprise to the Biden administration. The FDA last year issued a recall warning for nearly 54,000 rapid tests manufactured by a company that owned the lab. So a company owned the lab, also produced tests. Fresno County officials discovered the unlicensed lab in a warehouse owned by this company called Prestige Biotech, which has ties to multiple Chinese pharmaceutical firms and a president who lives in China and can only be reached by email. The company's CCP links extend to Barry Zhang, listed as the registered agent. The founder of the law firm representing Prestige Biotech. He is reportedly a regular sponsor of CCP
Good to see you.
United Front.
Thanks for popping in. I know Midwest is streaming, so
got some filings here.
I will probably do a desktop stream today. I had a funeral and stuff I had to do yesterday. I was running around too much to get set up.
Says I've worked in emergency.
I'll be going to Pittsburgh Friday.
Lab in HKU for 5 years. The more revealed about the illegal Chinese lab Prestige in California, the more suspicious it is. If Prestige is the creditor as it claimed, why would it like to receive a lot of lab mice from Universal Meditech?
I'll be right back.
The mice are useless for a test lab. They're very expensive to maintain. There is no animal lab in Prestige to work on mice. How could Prestige get numerous infectious samples with 20 pathogens? She says, for example, there are 300 cases of malaria in California per year. Then with what probability that poor lab got a positive malaria sample from a patient? Or where else did it come from? Where are they cultivating these samples from? Why were the labels removed on the samples and the reagents? It should not happen in any lab unless the owner tried to cover something up. If Prestige planned to develop more test protocols like they claimed, the equipment and the materials are more necessary than mice. You don't need the mice. We haven't seen biosafety cabinets or minus 80 degrees Celsius fridges in that lab. It's impossible to install biosafety cabinets in the abandoned warehouse. It's possible that the secret place is a storage and transfer station for illegal infectious samples, unknown biomaterials for other certain evil purposes. Is it a piece of a massive illegal network? By the way, it costs a lot of money to keep 30 fridges on, so no one would pay it for nothing. They claim the mice are from Universal Meditech. It's a now defunct company. The mice took 7 years to get to the point where they were found again. It's like this is somebody's going through a Google map of the facility. Wild story, but turns out government was apparently paying them a bunch of money. The company is not licensed. This is according to Jen Cheng. Says, if you've been following the story on the illegal California lab run by a Chinese biotech firm, Prestige, discovered in Reedley, California, it gets more interesting. This company, not licensed to conduct business in California, received a $360,000 tax credit. What? Thanks to the one Gavin Newsom. California competes tax credit, gives them a bunch of money. All they say, here's the effective date. Formula given for whatever experiments, Frankenstein experiments they were doing. Before going bankrupt, Universal Meditech was awarded its business license from the Newsom administration exactly 1 year to the day before Gavin Newsom's state of emergency that locked down the entire state. 1 year to the day. Amazing. They got their business license. 1 year later, Newsom locks everybody down. Meditech continued operation under its new owner, which didn't have a state business license and was only outed when someone noticed a garden hose hanging outside of the building. 1,000 dead mice inside that were, quote, genetically engineered to catch and carry the virus. Wow. All right. City officials said, this is an unusual situation. I've been in government for 25 years, never seen anything like this. Those would be the same lab mice that were genetically engineered to carry the vid.
So been on welfare for
Same
25
company
years.
Manufactured a bunch of tests. Wild. Newsom, however, raising millions. Going to run for president. Wild story. And I was wondering, what is this tax credit for? Is this for, like buying distressed property in some dilapidated part of the state? I'm not sure what that is, but very, very strange story. All right, well, let's say hello. Who's here? And let's say hello in this lovely, lovely house this beautiful morning. And let's make sure this is pinned. Let's say hello to our YouTube friends. It's a beautiful Wednesday. Yes, we are a bit early today. I do have a couple meetings coming up here soon. And one of them is going to be with my brand new YouTube partner manager. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I was working with another woman for about 8 months. And I think, or maybe it was about a year. I think we were working together for a year. Yeah. We were working together for a year. And then 6 months, you get 6 months increments with your partner. And they swap them out. So I'm going to meet my brand new YouTube partner today here shortly. Here in a little bit. Which is fun, which is always good. Always like to see what's going on their side of things. Zach is here lurking. We got Jigams here. Witty Wednesday. When do we get to meet them? Says C. Reed. Well, I'm not sure he's really going to be. I don't think they meet with everybody that way. Dylene's here. See the Veil's here. Sweet Potatoes here. We got Mystics here. Yeah, the lab was just another one for 2024. Yeah, I saw this one come through. Yeah, it's very interesting. We have looks like we have an alien and Madonna. And I can't tell which one's which, but I think they're both in there. Most likely mice with human genetics. Yeah. To do what? What were they doing with all that stuff? Sweet Potato says, we will go to bed election night. Votes will be done being counted. We'll wake up and it's Newsom. Basically what happened last time. We were live streaming for a long time that night. We woke up, the whole thing changed. It's amazing.
Well, we saw you on
A Bad Poet says, I would love to see Rob and the Body Language Ghost team up.
Although I do have it on top.
I'm not familiar with that. The Body Language Ghost? Sounds like a good one. Madonna. Rob will get a rainbow-haired 9284 genders pinko. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds very 2024. Rob, is it illegal to have a grand jury from D.C. serve grand jury in Florida? So I would say so this is a good question. So Jerry, this is what Judge Eileen Cannon was ordering them to brief for her yesterday. Maybe 2 days ago. She ordered she ordered Trump's team, actually Walt's team, to respond to that because apparently what happened was, so in some way, Judge Eileen Cannon got notice that it sounds like Jack Smith is still doing work in D.C. The classified documents case is being prosecuted out of Florida, which means the Florida court has jurisdiction, and it should all be contained in there. Meaning the grand jury happened there, any like permission to go do certain things that's happening there. And what it sounds like happened is the special counsel's office is notifying the judge that the defense might have a conflict because the defense is also representing people in D.C. And so why is that a conflict? Well, it sounds like maybe special counsel might be prosecuting people out of D.C. and doing stuff out of the D.C. grand jury. It might also be carried over into Florida. And so the judge wants to know where that division is. And she's saying, well, what are you doing there? And why are you bringing it into my jurisdiction? In other words, could you find that and use that?
Hey, Far Corner, good to see you, bud.
Results, evidence, subpoenas, witnesses. Could you get that on your own?
Hey, I'll be
independently in Florida? Because that's my jurisdiction. If you couldn't, she might say, well, it's outside of my jurisdiction, so leave it out. And so I would say in some instances, it's certainly illegal. But in other instances, it might not be. It depends on what specific thing we're talking about. And the judge hasn't issued a ruling on that yet. She's asking the defense to brief it. Kimmy Joe says, Rob, if the article in the Gateway Pundit is true, doesn't this blow up the third indictment? Which article? Is it the article about the Michigan police reports? I think there's a lot that might blow that up. But yeah, anything that sows doubt in the outcome of the election, or anything that offers an alternative theory that's within the confines of the law, yeah, the voter fraud stuff. I think we're going to get into the voter fraud today. I've got that queued up on the show. They're not super long police reports, and a lot of them are just like inventories. It's just like we got a laptop, we got a cell phone, we got a hard drive, we got this, we got this. So we'll go through the full thing. I anticipate to go through the full thing today. But it is.
Chill out, Anna.
I think the response to it is still going to be it wasn't consequential to change the outcome of the election, right? It was a smaller case, and it wasn't something that I think the margin of the vote margins in Michigan was about 150,000 votes, I think. So I don't know how many were alleged in that single police report. How many votes did those people impact?
Yeah, flipped overnight. Did
they catch them all and dismiss them all? Was it enough to change 150,000 votes? I doubt it. I've not read through it yet. We'll read through it together. But yeah, the defense took over the investigation and quashed it. Oh, I see. I didn't even know that happened. Yeah, so I think that would be good evidence to, so what are they going to show? That it didn't?
You dirty effing.
The problem with the quashing, it shows bias, it shows impropriety, it shows that they're corrupt and partisan. But remember, they have like these multi-prong approaches. They say, okay, and they keep moving the goalpost. Yeah, there was fraud, but not enough widespread fraud. Okay, there was widespread fraud, but not enough widespread fraud to overturn the election, right? The goalpost kept moving. So okay, there's fraud, great. Okay, yeah, so what? There's widespread fraud, so what? Okay, so there's widespread fraud, but it didn't overturn the election. And so I think that they will probably still use that same defense no matter what we uncover. But certainly, if the feds come in and quash that, or don't investigate it further, or the whole thing just, it's just one incident. We're not looking into it any further. Then we of course will know it, but legally you can't prove something that didn't happen. Like there was no investigation that came to a result, so there's nothing to analyze there. That's why they quashed it. It's as corrupt as you can possibly get, but yeah. Spud says fraud is fraud. Well, I wish it were that easy. Yeah. Any fraud is too much fraud. I would like to see no fraud. I would agree with that. Shiva, would you be able to do a blow-by-blow read of his transcripts? Probably not.
Wow.
See the veil.
Man, they got to be pretty old.
Shiva files a lot of different things, and I know Shiva's very active
my shit in the 80s, man.
on social media, so I'd probably just refer you over to him to cover his stuff.
We're at a fair?
Unless that breaks out and turns into a bigger story. Jigam says, we live in a time where the idea of evil unleashing a deathly virus is not a conspiracy. So stories like this are concerning, to say the least. Dark times here. Well, I don't know. We don't know what they're doing in that lab. Yeah. As far as the Michigan voting thing, whether it's enough to change the results or not, it's showing the tip of the iceberg of the fraud that took place. Right. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, you can extrapolate it out and you can make an argument. But I think, if you're going to point to like that one police report, or if you're going to point to that one incident and say that, that alone exonerates Trump, I don't think, well, first of all, I think it helps exonerate Trump, and I think a lot of other things exonerate Trump. So I don't in other words, that's not a necessary condition to exonerate Trump. I think it's anything that causes us to question the election raises doubt. And in our mind, if there's any reasonable doubt, if there's any doubt at all that's based in reason, okay, it's such a high standard. If there's any doubt based in reason to think that Trump didn't have the mens rea, the mental state mindset, the intent to say, I knew that this thing was, that I lost, but I pursued it anyways, then they're not going to be able to meet that criminal threshold. I think there's plenty of doubt based in reason that there are questions about the election. Michigan is just one incident. And there's many others, and I think that's, and remember, we have there's so much that went wrong here, but we've got the social pressure on the social media companies. We've got the structural changes.
On my way into work myself. Good to see you, Four Corners 6 for coming in.
Private actors who are on the ground collecting ballots and actually impacting the numbers on the ground. So the mechanics of the machine and what they were pushing through the machine, everything was corrupted, including our ability to talk about the machine. So the whole, it was fraudulent through and through.
Can opener.
Zuckerbucks, yeah, they dumped, was it like $4, $5, $6 billion?
Oh, fuck.
We looked at the numbers the other day. It was almost like 2 or 3 times the numbers that they did in previous elections. The whole thing was corrupted through and through. So I think that might be why people are, maybe why this number, why these numbers look so solid. It's like Joe Biden, yeah, we know he's an empty vessel who's not even there, but he's like the establishment's thing. So is there like a futility cost that's baked into that? I'm not so sure about that. Remember, it was a pretty close election. I think I read somewhere that it was like 40,000 votes between a couple different counties would have changed the outcome, right? It was like 10,000 votes was the margin in Arizona. And that, we had weird stuff there. We had weird stuff in 2022. So like if Arizona flips, a couple other states were very close margins. Would 2,000 mules be a proof? No, I don't think so.
I don't know if I've ever actually looked at.
It says be careful with YouTube. So YouTube says we can talk about the election now, about 2020 election. You can challenge that now. They changed that rule, which is very good. Yeah. Thanks for flagging that though, Facts Matt. That's about it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's right. For now you can. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. You're right about that. And you never know. YouTube is a precarious position. There's no question about it. But hopefully they give us some notice if they change anything again. It's like tap dancing around a minefield. What's up, Sousen? YouTube needs to play in the middle. Yeah, well, we got It's a Trap from inDOCtriNATION. Dilene says, Rob, we schedule our dinner around your evening show. Thanks. We're better than evening news by far. Well, Dilene, What a nice compliment. And it's absolutely my pleasure to join you before or after your dinner. And I'm glad that you join us. Thanks for inviting me over and hanging out with us. Yeah, I'm concerned about YouTube. I'm concerned about this next election, which is why we are like aggressively trying to build out our website and the newsletter and locals, right? You can see all over the website. It's like, join us on locals, because I don't doubt that they're going to try some weird shenanigans. I think things are going to get even more intense, like dramatically more intense. If Trump continues to push back and they issue a protective order or something, right? Like there could be another FBI incident that happens, or there could be like another Reichstag fire or January 6th or something, and they could all flip out again. Remember what happened last time? Like it happened very quickly. January 6th happened, Trump got thrown off, a bunch of people got banned immediately, we got demonetized, like I think like that January basically. A couple weeks later, it happened very fast, and a lot of people got caught flat-footed. And so I expect, I'm almost planning for something like that to happen. And so we've been building, websites on, we're calling it censorship resistant. We're building censorship resistance into all the things, so that if that happens, we've got Rumble now, we've got locals now. Yeah, we're not using GoDaddy hosting. Yeah, we're not using any of that stuff. Although I think my domain is on GoDaddy. But we're not using hosting there. Yeah, Euro says they will 100% put Trump in jail given the chance, just for the headlines. Oh, I'm not sure. Are they going to be able to do that? Like, I know it's the Department of Justice and the federal government, but are they going to be able to do that? Seriously? T. Witt says, YouTube will let you talk about it today so they can cancel you for talking about it tomorrow. How many people have gotten strikes for policy changes applied retroactively? We have. Yeah, I certainly have. We got I think two medical, we got election misinfo strikes, and we got medical misinfo strikes. And one of our medical misinfo strikes was for an old story that was true when we talked about it, and it was like I don't know, 6-8 months old, and then they came back and they struck us for it. And I think it was intentional. I think somebody was watching our channel. There was something we were covering, and then we woke up the next morning. We had like a banger show. It was like off the hook, and then woke up the next morning. YouTube strike for medical misinformation for something we talked about like 8 months ago. It's like, you sons of, forget what it was. And at the time we talked about it, it was a true thing. We put the news story on the screen, like, this is what Joe Biden's doing. And then they changed it. And so they said, no, now it's medical misinformation. I said, you guys are the worst. Euro says, agreed. I've had videos removed 3 years after uploading and got a strike. It's dumb. So they changed the policies and then they issue a strike on the backside. Very nice. Yeah, Dianne Feinstein had a fall. Hopefully she's okay and retires. The whole narrative is changing because of all the dirt that's coming out on the old Bidens. We'll see if they move, if they move him around, or are they going to keep Joe, or are they going to eject him from the
throne,
from the field? Crash says, Rob, if Trump disregards an order from the judge, is it criminal or civil contempt? Criminal. If it's a criminal case and he violates an order, it's criminal. Second time I've asked that question. Oh, sorry, I missed it the first time. It is a criminal. It would be a criminal violation. She could hold him in custody. She could issue an order to show cause and say, explain yourself, and then hold him in contempt and lock him up. Now, if that were to happen, we have a constitutional crisis because we have the Secret Service. We have the Secret Service who's going to be there, and I don't think Trump is going to continue to shut up, and is going to be a big backlash there. So I don't know what they're going to do. I almost want him to be held in criminal contempt. It's like,
Every time a fucking phone call comes in, it interrupts the stream.
Going to have this much leverage. Yeah, the real killer says, and I don't want Trump to stop talking. I'd rather him continue to talk. Just keep calling out these people for the monsters that they are. Just keep doing it. And the judge might hold him in contempt, and we're going to say, okay, so what? What now? What now? What are you going to do? Like you bit this off. You filled up your plate at the buffet. Now it's time for you to eat it. Wouldn't the show cause happen first, and then a stay pending an appeal to SCOTUS? I mean, maybe. I mean, it could. Like, it depends on what they want to do with it. I mean, like, if the special counsel wants, certainly they could appeal to the Supreme Court. I don't know that the Supreme Court would accept it. Typically, in a criminal case, you got to wait until you get a final order at the conclusion of the case before you can start appealing stuff. But this is not a normal case, so I don't know what they could do. But I think that is something that could happen. Or the judge could just come out and say, "No, you're in violation of my order. Report to custody," and we'll see what happens there. We got a doorbell. Hang on.
Stupid fuck. No signal, just coming over. Oh, wow, look at this. Oh!
All right. No feds. No feds. Yeah, so, we missed Leaf Blower Guy, I think, last Friday. Yeah, he came early last Friday. We missed him. I was looking around to see where the doorbell sounded. I don't have one. Yeah,
his truck is fucking...
It's right there. Fortunately, it's super close, so I can just pop out and grab it.
Dude, I opened it up for you. Go.
But
get the fuck
the
out
point
of
is,
here.
if the judge, the judge could get very squirrely. The judge could
What if that car swings out again?
exercise her total authority, or she could recognize that she's dealing with a big spicy meatball, and she might not want to bite off the whole thing. Well, we just don't know.
No, this fucking truck ain't got nowhere to go. Oh, there's brakes out for everything.
Well, I'd be curious what the specifics are of that. I mean, he can file a ton of motions, like in his criminal case.
Nice hauling ass.
Here's the issue with appeals and Supreme Court and Court of Appeals. There are many different rules in many different jurisdictions, and there's not really agreement on this. So I don't think, if you're looking for a hard answer on, you're going to find one. The general rule, because here's why. Because the government says this is a regular criminal case. They don't think this is a special case at all. They don't want Trump to be able to talk about it. They're treating this like every other January 6th case that exists. So they're going to say that this is like any other case. It's only appealable at the end of a final order, at the end of a conviction or whatever happens at the end. And that's generally the standard. Like if you're in a criminal case, you can't just go appeal everything. So for example, you're prosecuting a criminal case, you file a motion to suppress something or a motion for a continuance or something, and they it's denied, whatever. You don't get to appeal every single little thing, but you did like a Proud Boys trial, which is more serious charges here, right? How many times did they get denied a motion? How many times did the judge rule against them? All throughout the whole thing. Or Ghislaine Maxwell, same thing, right? And these are just regular criminal cases with regular rules of criminal procedure, the same rules that they're going to say apply to Trump here. They say it's literally nothing different. So at the end of a criminal case, once you have a final order of conviction, then you appeal it. And you appeal all of the issues that you raised during the criminal proceeding. That's going to be happening with the Proud Boys. Ghislaine Maxwell is already doing that right now. right? She's already appealing all of the issues that she raised. That's why they file all of those motions. But Glenn, didn't get the opportunity to pause the criminal proceedings, not even the trial, but the proceedings, and then appeal those orders. Now, after the case is closed, she's appealing everything. Okay, I objected to that. Judge denied this. This witness couldn't answer this question, and they all get appealed. So that's the general process, right? That's generally how it works. Now, this is not, in my opinion, the same thing as those other cases, right? This is a new novel matter of law that I think involves constitutional issues, like literal constitutional separation of powers issues between former presidents, political candidates. Trump was still elected president at the time he was alleged to have committed a lot of these crimes, these statements to overturn the election. Okay, this is all different, and it implicates constitutional questions that are not implicated in those other cases. And
See you later,
just kind of
unindoctrinated. Sorry, I missed that.
cases. And so, with that being said, there are, other, and I'm not an appellate lawyer. Okay, so and by the way, most attorneys are not, and appellate laws and appellate practice are very different, and there are you've heard me say local rules many times, that different courts have different local rules and courts of appeals have different rules. And then you've got the Supreme Court, which has, original jurisdiction over certain matters. It's very complicated. So it depends on the issue that you're raising. But if Trump goes against the government and says, this is not a regular run-of-the-mill ordinary case, I have a right to free speech as a political candidate, as a former president, and it is a threshold issue, I would make the argument that they can just go directly and appeal to the United States Supreme Court because it is within their jurisdiction, and you craft that however you wanted to craft it. So I think, the argument, like, yes, you certainly can file special actions, or you can make the argument to appeal, and there are mechanisms by which you can deviate the standard criminal process out. But it's not an automatic thing, and it's not something that I personally think the judge is going to, at least the DC judge, enable or so it's very specific. It's very nuanced. It's not a cut and dry thing. All right, I have reservations about giving definitives on any of this stuff. I actually have reservations about that. And I think the people who are telling you that there's a definitive answer on either side are probably wrong, because they can't know, because nothing like this has ever happened before. We're all just making our best guesses, I guess, is what I'm saying. And this is what's so beautiful about practicing law, is many different lawyers will have many different takes. And that's why it's, lawyer speak, or as Sweet Potato says, baloney. The judge has already stated, though, through her order, that this is not a regular case. Trump was not given time under the rules of procedure from crash to contrary. For example, so you're talking about, I think what you're talking about here is the DC case. And the DC case, the local rules were that you get 14 days to respond when the opposition files a motion. And you're right, crash to contrary, the judge did not do that. The judge made them respond by, Monday or Sunday, something very quickly, like 2 days. And then she actually scheduled the hearing for today. And so I think I had actually the Trump docket queued up. Did I have it pulled up? Yeah. Yeah, so this is the date that you're talking about, crash to contrary. August 11th is when the hearing is going to be scheduled. So that's Friday. So in other words, Trump filed a motion. There wasn't 14 days to respond. The judge gave him like 2 days to respond, and then scheduled a hearing like 2 days later. So Trump's people are saying, we have had no time to prepare. We don't have any due process. to articulate our defense. And so for example, we're going to go into this, and I think the judge is probably going to grant a pretty restrictive order, and we're going to see what Trump does. And then Trump is probably going to violate that order. The government's going to ask for something. I don't know what they're going to ask for. And then the judge is going to have to decide what to do about it. Hold him in compliance with the order or not. Now, the judge might also create, I don't know that Trump's going to comply with the order if it limits his ability to speak about the campaign. And I don't think that I would, even if I were his lawyer, I think that him speaking out actually gives you more tactical advantages. I mean, to be perfectly honest. It's like, first of all, it causes a little bit of chaos out there. I think it is actually effective in watering down their garbage prosecution. They use the media, they use the legitimacy, the leverage of the government to sell us this prosecution like it's a legitimate thing. So Trump can respond to it. And if Trump responds to it, not only does that combat them in the court of public opinion, but it also gives Trump's lawyers something to latch onto. Because every time the government raises an objection to something that Trump said, they're just going to come back and say, my free speech, my free speech, my free speech. And many of those statements from Trump are probably going to have dual purposes. It probably will be free speech, and it probably will also have some commentary on the criminal case. And so now the Supreme Court or somebody's going to have to get in here and separate that out for us. What's this new rule? Can you silence the leading GOP contender when his political opponent also charges him with a crime in the middle of an election season? It's like a constitutional, this might be where the constitutional breakdown happens. Free speech versus criminal prosecution. We were wondering what these issues were going to be, but I mean, this is a pretty good one. And if Trump is going to stand on principle in the face of this prosecution, free speech is, that's a good one. That's a good one to do it. First Amendment comes before the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, which is where we get our due process and our right to counsel stuff. So we have to weigh these things out, and it's going to be messy. And it's going to be actually very interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun. I use that word with some reservations. We got this from Common Free. It says Bush, alcohol, Obama, marijuana, Biden, cocaine, Trump. Listen up, children. No drinking, no smoking, no drugs. And, Com, I remember that. I mean, I stopped drinking in, when was that, 2019? And it's weird how you step. No booze, and it's been good. Life has been much, much better. Much, much better. Yeah, it was 2019. I think it was start of 2019. So,
anybody who quits drinking knows the exact date they quit drinking.
Trump was running in 2016. I was a little shocked that he was totally sober. I was like, wow, that's amazing. I had no idea because I thought that he was like this, international playboy. I thought that all these guys were, billionaires, probably just partying all the time, drinking, drugging, doing all the things. And then to learn that Trump never drank alcohol ever. And then to hear him talk about his story about losing his brother to alcohol. And he lost his brother to alcohol and said, it really scared the hell out of him. It kind of, but drugs. And it was an interesting thing. And I thought I was kind of inspired by that. I was like, wait a minute. He doesn't drink alcohol? That's incredible. Yeah. We got sweet potato. It says cologne's poison. Everything's basically poison, I know. Including alcohol. Time flies like an arrow and fruit flies like a banana. KB, we got some super chats in the house. Thank you, KB. Oh my gosh, time is flying by. Oh my gosh, what time is it? Man, I almost lost track of time. I got meetings coming up. All right, thank you, KB, for the reminder. We got a couple of these. Hey, coming in. Hey, Patrick. What's up, Patrick? How you doing, Robert? I'm good, Patrick. It's a beautiful morning. It's a beautiful Wednesday. We're going to have a full show today. We're going to have, I think we'll go through those Michigan police reports. Got those queued up. James Comer dropped a new House report on a new Biden $20 million report. It's like 19 pages. I've got that queued up. Congress isn't doing much today. No meetings on the docket. C-SPAN's also pretty light. And August is so slow. They don't have anything here. We had that queued up. Yeah, just interesting. YouTube, I accidentally Control-W'd the chat. Sorry about that. Don't take it personally. We're back. All right, we got YouTube chat back. All right, so so not much going on over on C-SPAN today. August is slow. We took a look at the Trump docket. I expect that we'll probably have another update on this today. This thing is interesting that's happening right now, and we've talked a little bit about this, which was speedy trial stuff. Okay, so right now Trump is wanting to exclude time from the speedy trial calculations, and the government wants to include time, which is interesting. Okay, it's like the opposite of what normally happens. It's like reversed. So Trump wants to drag this out, and the government wants to do this very quickly. So we might go through that motion. That's also kind of an interesting motion. A little technical, a little geeky with the time calculations, but it is important to talk about the speedy trial stuff. We also have, Judge Cannon denied the media permission to bring in their electronic equipment into the courthouse. That's for tomorrow. So there's another arraignment for the Trump case, the classified documents case tomorrow. And I think that's on the superseding indictment. Is that right? So it's not going to be a big deal. I think everybody's presence is waived, and the media will not be able to bring cameras or electronic equipment into the courtroom there either. And then Fani Willis, I wanted to see if we were going to hear from her this week. Probably not. Probably going to be next week as she starts to formulate the grand jury. So the biggest Fani in Georgia is going to be taking it off a little bit this week. Get back on some of that tomorrow. So should be fun. No cameras, just because it's federal court, so they don't let you in there. No cameras in there. So Patrick, thanks for the super chat, my man. Hope you're having a beautiful Wednesday too. And Spud says Rob is more trustworthy than Walter Cronkite. Walter Cronkite. I miss how those guys used to talk back then. I don't know specifically Walter Cronkite, but I like how they talk in the audiobooks, like how to win friends and influence people, think and grow rich, those types of enunciation. People really cared about articulating the words, and about their voice was almost like this. It sounds like they put their voice in a suit and tie, and then they got on and started recording. Thanks, buds. We got this one from Karen Andrews. What's up, Karen? Says, so did bogus J6 really destroy evidence? So I saw that headline, and that headline came out, I think, from a Congressman Loudermilk or something. Said that they destroyed evidence, and I've seen some bits of that. What I'm waiting for on that one, Karen, I think it's a great story. I don't doubt that they did. I'd like to see. I think Congress will probably start digging into that. I'm expecting a letter from the Judiciary Committee or something about that. So we'll keep our eye out on that. But it wouldn't surprise me that they nuked the evidence. American Dreamer, thank you, says Rob. You're are good enough. We value you. You're a blessing to your mom. Well, thank you, American. We had a beautiful dinner last night. So we went out to celebrate my brother, Eric. Rest in peace, brother. We had... was a lot of fun. Joey was there. We had some good conversations about some nice memories and had some delicious food. So it was a nice time. Mama was there. I think she had a good time, which is really the most important thing. Go to support Mama, make sure she's okay. And she did. I think she's doing good. So thanks, American. I do appreciate that. Love our mamas out there.
Yeah.
We had PF Chang's is where we went. So that was one of my brother's favorite restaurants. And good food, nice Chinese food. Yeah. His favorite restaurant. So it's kind of been our tradition. Since he passed, we go there and we get all the good stuff. The lettuce wraps, the spicy chicken, all the good stuff. And just kind of indulge on August 8th. And we've been doing it for years now. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's good stuff. It is good. It is good. Yeah, it's like you get that spicy chicken. Whew, man, hold me back. Somebody hold me back. I love that spicy chicken. It's good stuff. Okay, so my friends, it has been a beautiful, lovely morning. Dilene, my brother's birthday as well, August 8th. How cool. How cool is that? Yeah, and we had this wild story happen. I'll tell you this real quick. So we were sitting there, and so my mom and dad, my mom and Greg, they're very involved in kind of community support stuff. So they do grief counseling. They do a lot of they're actually, for Eric's House and other organizations, they're doing a grief workshop actually this weekend in Sedona. So they're going up and leading a 4-day grief retreat with like 20 people who've all lost somebody, kids, loved ones, generally to suicide or overdose or tragic death, something traumatic that took somebody you love away from you. So they're going up there to do this. I think it's a 4-day retreat in Sedona, Thursday through Sunday. And, we're getting messages about my brother and all that and whatnot. And somebody in his men's group sent him a picture and says that they were out camping and that there were signs all over the place at their campground that said "Happy Birthday, Eric." And it was like, what? That's kind of interesting. And so they took a picture of this young man. He's like 8 years old or something. His name's Eric, and they were celebrating his birthday at the campground. And so they had these signs all over the place for "Happy Birthday, Eric." And so they sent a picture of that. And it's like, oh, what a beautiful thing, So on the same day, on August 8th, but he was born 19, whatever, or 2000 now, probably, whatever. And so anyways, it's just a fun thing. People are out there connecting in different ways. And it's just a very interesting thing. So the universe is amazing. God is amazing. We're all connected out there. It's a beautiful place. And so, my friends, let us leave it there. It is an incredible, incredible Wednesday. This week is rocking and rolling ahead. We're going to have a full show, no doubt about it. And we'll leave it there. Thank you, Zach. Zach donated to Eric's House. And Zach, thanks for sharing that link over on Locals, too. Hope Arising's here. Tiger Shark, thank you for sharing Psalms. Sign of love from above, says KB. No doubt about it. A lot of good stuff out there. Okay, my friends, so we will leave it there. We'll be back tonight to get into it all again. It's going to be a lot of fun, jam-packed day. And until then, I hope you are making it a beautiful day, accomplishing whatever it is you're setting your mind to. You can accomplish it. It's going to be incredible as soon as you finish. And so in a few short hours, we'll be back to get into it. Until then, everybody, make it a great day, including enjoying those snacks, baby. All right, see you later. Bye-bye.
right, guys. Answer a couple messages already. I thought, hang on. What's going on with Mud Club? All right, guys. Sorry. Thanks for hanging out. I will try and set up a desktop stream. See how nuts it is when I get in there. But lots of appointments today, so whatever I'm playing in the background is going to be most of the entertainment. Apologize. One of my busiest times of year.